What's up guys, it's Brandon from BlazeTech here, and in today's video we're going to be going over how I pretty much do my thumbnails. Now, thanks to, I believe the name is Cash B Green, for suggesting this video on how I make my thumbnails. Pretty much it's going to be just from scratch, or what I do, what picture I take, why, depending on what the subject is pretty much about, how I go about theming my YouTube page. If you don't know what that means, it's pretty much where you get a consistent type of vibe from all your thumbnails. So it's often, for my tech channel, it's often me or the tech product, and with a couple of words in the yellow text with a black stroke, and with my small logo in the bottom right corner. So pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a photo with my other iPhone, and yeah, so he has another iPhone, he is rich. That's not true, I'm not rich. But no, pretty much I'll take a photo with this phone, we'll jump to the computer, we'll show you how I edit it. And other than that, remember, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like for the YouTube algorithm, as well as subscribe to the channel. And you can check out my socials. I have Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Other than that, I'll get taking photos and we'll pretty much do it. So pretty much I've just taken a photo, which is this photo right here, And I always make sure when I'm taking my photos, I set it to a 1920 by 1080. You can't really see it, but it's one of the little CogDrive apps. So 1920 by 1080 is pretty much just 1080p settings, which is 1920 x 1080. I use this for my thumbnails. You could use 1280 by 720, but I prefer to use 1920 by 1080 just to make it a little bit crisper. And I always try to do it in such a way where the product is shown a bit more if it's a particular product review, or I try to have like a surprise face, like happy, sad, shocked, what else is there, surprised, stuff like that. Different like human connection type psychological stuff right there. But no, other than that, I will jump into my computer. Now I use Photoshop. You can use either I'd recommend Canva actually if you don't have access to Photoshop, because it's free, as for Photoshop you have to pay for, unless you're already using Photoshop for school or something like that. And I suppose you can use Photoshop with your school equipment and all that. But no, that I just use primarily Photoshop. I just think it's got a few more features that I like doing, and other than that, we'll jump into the computer and I'll show you how it's done. Alrighty, so pretty much what I've done is I've taken the photo from my phone, and you would have seen that just before in the previous clip before this one. I uploaded the file to my Google Drive, and this is the one here, IMG 9038. So what I would do is I would right click it, I'd say download, and just like go through the process of like accumulating. Now I keep my thumbnails all in one spot on my OneDrive, so I just go into OneDrive, I go to, where is it, pictures, then I go to YouTube, and this is for BlazeTech, but it's also a face picture. It's more a BlazeTech thing, and I will just rename it to, what should we call this one? I don't normally rename it, but sometimes I feel like renaming it. What would I call this? How to create a YouTube thumbnail. That's what I would call it. So I have presets for my Photoshop, so I'm going to use this example for Photoshop because that's what I use primarily. And 90% of other YouTubers also use Photoshop. So this is pretty much a process of what I do. So what I do is I come up, it's not loading, now it is. I'd go to open recent, and I'd open a recent file that I've already done. So this was the iPhone 12 unboxing that I did last video, and I pretty much keep everything the same. As regards to the text, I always keep it yellow. I have a small stroke of about 12 or 13, and I always have my thumbnail there. and I always add some brightening or some hue and saturation. So what I would do is I would go to File, go to New, and I would title it whatever it is. So this would be how to create a YouTube thumbnail, and I call this particular type because it's already preset a YouTube thumbnail, and it's always 1920 by 1080 pixels. So as you can see, 1920 1080 pixels. Resolution is default for me. I just keep it at 300, and color mode is RGB color, 8 bits. You can make the background whatever you want, depends on what you're doing, but I just keep mine on white. And color profile is working RGB, and pixel aspect ratio is square pixels. So once that is all done, I'd save it. That's why the document type is a YouTube thumbnail, and that's just how I do mine. So it's all automated for me, so I don't really gotta go and do anything myself. So other than that, we'll just click OK, and this is what you're coming up with. So what I would do is I would come over to my previous thumbnail that I've done, and I would copy the text, I would copy the logo, and that's actually it. So I would just right click and say duplicate. I'll just move my camera. So right click and say duplicate, and it's going to ask you where do you want to duplicate it, and I want to do it to my newest file, so I called it how to create a YouTube thumbnail, so that's this one, or it could be a brand new one which is just new. So for this sake, we'll just do how to create a YouTube thumbnail, and click on that and say OK. So things will copy over. So unboxing is copied over, and for some reason my logo didn't copy over, so we'll just do that. So as you can see, we got our thumbnail, our logo, and we got our text. So what I would do is I would come to my files, pictures, YouTube, BlazeTech. Okay, so I finally found it. So it's how to create a YouTube thumbnail. So I just, I would just drag and drop it in, like so, and I'd say enter. So I would drag all of these to the back. So I'd grab the particular picture you just drawn in, drag it down to the bottom so everything is in front of it. So the concept for this one would be how to create a YouTube thumbnail. So I would just say thumbnail and enter tutorial. I don't know how to spell that word. Tutorial. I'm just gonna do this. There you go, that's better. So what I always make sure I do with my thumbnails, I can't even spell thumbnail correctly. F-U-M-B nail. Okay, so even though it's a preset, this is what I always do. I always make sure a stroke is enabled. So, and I always put it on about stroke 8. So that's what I do. And this thumbnail color is FFF600. This exact one is what I like. And other than that, this is what it would pretty much turn out like. So I always try to keep my logo in the bottom left hand corner, and with the text I either try to put it in the top left or the top right. I prefer the top right, and you wouldn't want it covering the, I guess, the particular thing you're trying to show off. So I can either move around the text or I can move around the image. So for this case, I think I'm going to move around the image, make it a little bit bigger, zoom out, make it a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger again. Now to the other way, hold control, and I actually don't mind this. So what I would also do is I would come here and I'd say rasterize layer, and then I come up to image, go to adjustments and brightness, then I'd put the brightness way up, and I would move the contrast down to a point where I like it, and then I would go back to image, go back to adjustments, and go to hue and saturation. I prefer it to be a bit more greeny. I just increase the red a little bit. It really depends on the lighting, and you have that. So it's kind of like a surprise face. It looks like I'm wearing mascara, but you got a bright thumbnail, bright letters, easily readable. Even if you zoom out, like if it's on mobile, then you can still see the product. You can still see the surprise face, and you can just see it as YouTube thumbnail. So after I've done that, it literally takes me 5 minutes. Then you want to come down, do save as, and you can either save it on the cloud, or you can save it as a JPEG. I preferably do both. So I'd go back to save as, save on the computer. I keep all my thumbnails in one spot, like I said before. I would save it as a JPEG, and I'd just say save. Which one? Yeah, so I'd be replacing that one. So for my case, that's fine. So I just say yes. Make sure it's on maximum, which is 12, or you can just use the drop down and say maximum, and just say okay. And that's pretty much how I make my thumbnail. So that's just pretty much how I easily make my thumbnails. But yeah, no, if you guys got any suggestions or questions or any new video ideas, feel free to, drop them below in the comment section. But remember, other than that, subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this, and new tech products and reviews and etc. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, once again, to smash like on the video, as well as subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and you can check out my socials. I have Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. But yeah, on the end screen, I'd appreciate it if you check out my other videos. But totally up to you. And other than that, this is Brandon from BlazeTech. Have a good day.